Howdy from Las Vegas. It's your girl Buddha in the Crucible. It is Tuesday here in Sin City. Getting a little bit more chilly, but overall still sunny, clear, dust bowl that it usually is, full of lights. So hope you're well. Hope everything's going according to your victory. I won't even say plan. Today I'm going to continue on with my Constantine stories, and I'm going to share with you some tales of self-proclaimed warlocks. What is, okay, like a warlock, a wizard, in other words, some kind of spiritually inclined male that your girl here has just encountered over the years. So for one of them I'm going to tell you about, I met here in Vegas, and this guy was, he was a mechanic. I'll just say, like, he was in the field of working with cars. I'll just say that. And he was a white guy, and I introduced him to Nichiren Buddhism, and he was like really took to it, and he like really seemed to like it, or so he was telling me, and that was all kind of going cute. So he worked a lot of hours or whatever, but he would come through and just we would hang out all the time. And one day he comes over and he looks. Oh, we decided because I had a pool at the condos where I was staying. So we decided I said, you want to go to the pool or whatever? And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. But he didn't come with a bathing suit or whatever, but he had just like shorts on, okay, whatever. So I grabbed a towel, that good stuff. I think we grabbed some beers and we went to the pool. And the water's warm, there's like lots of people out kind of, and it's all going okay. I'm like starting to get into the water, and he takes off his shirt and jumps into the pool. Well, as he's getting up, rising up from the water, and he's like getting the water out of his eyes, and he had turned his back to me, and he has a big pentagram on his back, huge tattoo, like permanent, forever. And I was just looking at it like, like, what the fuck you got going on here, man? So I'm just staring at him, and he turns around, kind of all like not realizing anything is up, and he's looking at me like, oh, what? And I said, what's that on your back? And he's like, oh no, oh, that's just like from a long time ago or whatever. I said, why wouldn't you get that covered up if that's just some, like, from a long time ago? He's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, just things happen, and I mean, it's on my back. I don't really think about it. But it doesn't matter. Like, I don't even worry about that stuff, and I'm not part of that. Okay. But there were just, so this doesn't have much more to do with the occult per se. Like, it could be coincidental, but longer story short, his wife ended up calling me. Okay, again, example of karma. He had lied to me from the gate and told me that he was divorced and that he had a child who died. And that was kind of what unraveled their relationship, and that he was divorced. Then one morning, his wife called me and was saying like, oh, hello, this number, this number has been, why are you calling my husband so much? Just kind of the standard stuff. And, but right, like, again, he had just blatantly lied to me. She said, what do you mean? Like, I said, look, he told me that he was divorced and that he had a child who died. She said, what are you talking about? We're not divorced. We were separated a while ago, but we've been back together for a few months, and we've been living together, and we still have our son. And I was like, so oopsie, like, okay, all I can do is cancel the subscription as it, you know, or make, whatever the arrangement null and void. I didn't, yeah, I honestly I mean, took his word that he was divorced, you know. So it just goes to show you. I mean, I have heard some women preach that it's still a woman's responsibility, I guess, to like run a marriage check or something. But I don't necessarily agree, even though, right, like this, I've been in an example where somebody blatantly lied about being married. So I had to cancel him, and him getting caught in that lie wasn't him leading a completely double life. Like, apparently he made up 2 Facebooks, the whole business. So, but that wasn't enough to, when I said, I don't want to hear from you ever again, like, don't call me anymore, obviously. So, well, maybe not obviously, but that's what I said to him. And he wouldn't leave it alone. I blocked him, and but I had like one of those apps that shows like when a person attempts to call you even when they've been blocked, and it was still blowing up like crazy. And that was kind of freaking me out because I was going to school and I would get home like really late at night, and I lived by myself, and I remember like walking to my apartment late at night, and there would be like long letters on my door, or in the morning I go to my car and there'd be these letters under the windshield wiper on my car. He brought me a baby palm tree in a bucket. Like, he put it in a bucket and put it on my door. And then another night he just came and was like banging on the door, and I was chanting to Michael Hanson, which right, well, we gotta cover that at some point. But I was chanting, and I was just chanting, and all you could hear was him banging on the door, and like yelling and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you. I just want to talk to you. And he's like banging and banging, and I'm not going to answer the door. And I'm not big on police myself, so I guess I was really chanting for him to just go away. I just wanted him to go away. And like I said, he would leave things on my door and stuff like that, and still make various attempts to contact me. Excuse me, sexy. So the last time that he did come over, before I knew, like before his wife called me, all that good stuff, he came over in a really like dark state. Like, he came over and his eyes were like not black, but excuse me, that was like waiting to come up. Anyway, not like black, but just like this weird, cloudy, dark. I mean, maybe he was just high. Maybe he was like just on one or something, and I was too naive, to think that. I'm not trying to make it like all spooky or anything, but his behavior was definitely aggressive. Even after he was caught in his double life, he continued to try to, contact me and see me, and, this big black pentagram on his back and all this kind of stuff. It was just, more than enough. So that was that one. And then actually, this was in Vegas too. I went to there was this guy, like he started hanging around in the apartment complex, and you could tell like he didn't have an apartment, but he would just come there and be hanging around. So I don't know if it was to rob people. I don't really know what his problem was. And again, like I was getting gas, like there was a gas station right at the corner, and I was getting gas late one night, and it was like 4 a.m. in the morning, and he walks up to me, and his eyes are glowing this like weird, flamey gold red. And I know that sounds so fantastic, but I'm trying to tell you, his eyes like were really like okay, like the way though that color right there, the way it's reflecting on my nail right now, that little shiny part, that was like the color of his eyes. Now maybe he was, again, maybe these are drugs that I just didn't know could make people look like this, but he looked legit possessed. And he was just like circling around my car as I'm getting gas. So I'm staring at him, and I said, hey there. And he said, he like starts circling and like going to make eye contact with me, and he's like, do you know what I am? And he's like looking at me. I said, does it matter? And I'm like trying to play it cool, but in my mind I'm like, I'm gonna like whop you with this gas pump thing if you try to make a move. because we're at a gas station. It's like brightly lit. But anyway, so but he doesn't seem to be worried about anything. And he says, good. I like that you know what I am. So what do you think about that? I said it's not for me to have an opinion about. Because again, I'm just trying to play it cool and act like I'm not bothered by him trying to act like he's a demon. So he goes, why do you think, why aren't you, what did he say? He said, why do you think I'm here? Something like that. Because I said, we know that you drift through the apartment, so just go until you drift somewhere else. But you know that there are consequences. That's when I finally got him, and he's like, well, what do you mean? Well, thanks to my gift. I mean, this is what I said to him, and it resonated with him. You're free to think whatever you want. When I looked on him, suddenly this is what I felt myself saying. I said, you go from place to place, leaving no trail, and yet emptiness and darkness at the same time. I said, you walk through and do that to people and drain them for what they love to give to you. You take and take and take. You're a rolling stone, and you'll soon find out that your punishment is that you have to roam forever, and you will roam for eternity with nothing. And he looked so shook for me to say that to him. And for whatever reason, that was the recipe. That was the formula, for me to say that to him, that he finally backed up a little bit. I don't know if he's thinking about robbing me. I don't know if then he realized oh, this bitch is crazier than me. I don't know what made me say that. I don't even know what made me read him in that way. It only kind of feeds through right at that moment. But for whatever reason, me saying those things really kind of had him, I don't want to say shook, but it was enough to get through to here that he finally backed up, and he had a lot of respect for me suddenly. He wasn't leaning in as a kind of a predator stance anymore. So it was definite. He definitely. We were able to bring out the Buddha nature in dude at that moment, and he finally backed the hell off and let me finish pumping my gas and go the hell home, and I had to worry about looking over my shoulder if he's following me, that kind of stuff. And I'm really fortunate that if these could all just be crazy cracked out people that thought they were warlocks and stuff like that. I mean, yes, that's very true, but for whatever reason, I have a neat little string of people that all claim to be the same thing. Now, this one's a little bit more less recent. It's a few years, well, actually more than a few years back, but I was still on the East Coast, and I met this guy, and his family was from the Caribbean. He was really, really, oh my God, he was so hot, and he had this really strong aura. He just kind of beamed this reddish gold and dark at the same time. And it was just one of those cases where I suspected it's kind of something a little funny with him, but he's just so hot and just being smooth, and I don't know, I was just really falling for him. And my family ended up meeting him because we were dating during the holidays, and he came over for our New Year's party and just completely pulled off this frauding ass act. I basically found out later. He claimed to me later on that he has bipolar disorder, because it was dealing with he was this smooth perfect boyfriend for a couple months, and then suddenly just went dark. So anyway, before all that happened, the couple of times that we got to spend the weekend together and things like that, because he lived in a different city compared to where, I lived in a major city, and he kind of lived in a smaller suburb city. And we were kicking it one day, and I was just telling him that I was having like weird dreams, and I shared a little bit about some of the, spiritual stories and encounters that I felt like I had had, and I was telling him that I was having this dream that I was going up to these like double doors. They were like French double doors in the dream. I still remember it, and they were, these doors are locked and they're just kind of like shaking as though like they want to be opened for some reason. And I'm tempted to, in the dream, I'm tempted to open them, but I know if I do, it's kind of almost like it's like lifting the veil to not just otherworldly realms that I want to see, but even those that I may not want to see. It's going to open Pandora's box if I go through this door. So in the dream, I'm always tempted, but then I don't remember ever actually going through with it. And I was telling him this dream, and he said, "What if I could take you back to that door, and we can go through it together?" And I said, "Well, why would we want to do that?" And he said, "So that you can know the power." And I won't lie, like, cause he was like, and he had this perfect body. He was like cut, so cut, and just like big, and just like, oh, sexy. Like, I mean, like fireman calendar hot. He was like porn star hot, like just. He was so fine, right? I mean, the devil would be hot, right? But well, whoever he was in the Legion, but for sure, I mean, whatever he was embracing, he kept it secret from me. But he ended up not. I mean, the people that I met would get to a certain point with me. That I don't know what they thought their plans were. Maybe they felt they were self-proclaimed violent Satanists. I don't know. But there were just too many little weird things that would add up to them that, regardless of if you believe in that sort of stuff, these guys were subscribing to that warlock life, that wizard life. So, anyway, right. I'm trying to think which else I can share. And that hot guy that I just said was a total player. Like, that was the issue, is, he was like just juggling different people. But he just, I don't know. He was definitely getting away with a lot of stuff, and even though he didn't live in the major city that I lived, when we went out and we went to like a couple little hood spots, and those guys were legit afraid of him. I don't know. I knew he was like doing some kind of crazy in the street stuff, but I don't know. I don't know. It was like if John Dillinger was a warlock, basically. He was a gangster and a wizard. He was into that stuff. I met another guy again from I dated a couple of Caribbean gangsters that were into that stuff, and they would just say little weird things that would just really kind of creep you out in that way. So I guess I'm trying to think if there's another kind of shorter one that I can share related to a guy. There are others, but those stories are a little bit longer, so I guess we can kind of keep this as a shorter video for now. What about you? Do you encounter males that are, spiritually inclined, or, they're claiming they have these powers, or, I don't know if you've, is there a secret league? Like, has it evolved into an Illuminati, like, claim thing? I'm completely ignorant to that sort of stuff, beyond just like what makes it into the mainstream channels. So, please share your thoughts on that, as far as, different males that claim to be magic, or they embrace voodoo or hoodoo, or wizardry. And I'm not talking about fiction like Harry Potter. You know, I'm talking about people who, you know, have like Creole, for example, or Haitian, or, you know, just something they're embracing, and some kind of crazy thing that, or you had a concern about this person, or whatever you do want to share. Maybe you feel like, hey, you know, actually, like, the hashtag not all wizards, like, some of them are nice. The ones that I met that were claiming to be wizards were almost always on some evil shite. So, you know, are you a nice wizard yourself? You know, are you claiming that? No judgment here. Like, I can't. Who am I? Like, if you're down there on some alchemist type stuff and you are making like a fish cow bird or something crazy, well, please don't. But I hope you're not using, you know, your powers. Like, why would you waste them on making like living abominations or atrocities? Like don't do anything to make things suffer. I hope you're not doing that. But let's say you are, you know, a cool self-proclaimed wizard or vampire or demon, or, you know, the devil or whoever. Like, if you, you know, if you have a message, I guess maybe you should give a shout out in the comments too. And no shade. I mean, if that's who you are, I'm Buddhist, so whatever you do, I'm still chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So anyway, hope it's going well for you. Though I just kind of keep it light today. I have my wine here. I'm lately on. I just got Netflix, like my own Netflix. I might have mentioned this to you guys. So I've been checking out some different shows that you've been recommending to me. So also, if you have a show, you know, please recommend it to me anywhere. Just say, you know, Netflix, this show. Just based on what I've been talking about or whatever I shared. Right now, I'm checking out this series called Ripper Street, and I think it's a UK drama, right? Normally, I wouldn't sit through this just because there is minimal representation. I mean, I know it's a period piece, and that, you know, there was only so much of everybody everywhere, but this. We make so many exceptions for stuff like this when we want to, and, you know, even Penny Dreadful at least had, you know, one or two POCs peppered in there. But as much as I love Penny Dreadful, I just wasn't crazy about the representation, and even with them migrating to Mexico, right? Like, I think that's the new series, right? Or the new season, right? They're going to be in Mexico, and Johnny Depp already did that with what was that movie called? You know, where he got his eyeballs gouged out. What the hell was that movie called? I cannot remember it, but if you know what I'm talking about, say the name of that movie in the comments. I feel like it's just gonna be a long stretch out of that, and I'm like, you know, I don't foresee, you know, the kind of representation that I want to give my time to as far as media and shows in 2019. So I'm kind of on, you know, other than that, but the to me, the storyline itself for Ripper Street is pretty good. You know, that's the only thing I would change, is that I just wish there was better representation. But sometimes they argue that, you know, for the time and the place and who was allowed to do what, that obviously there wouldn't be POC. But again, we make so many exceptions that, you know, I just feel like, you know, kind of keep up with being aware. But again, it's not show's obligation to act, you know, woke and stuff like that. So but it just seems like, you know, I'm trying to cut down on shows that are just majority pale face, you know what I mean? And no shade to you, you know, if you don't want to have that kind of filter, I'm not telling you that's how you should be. I'm saying that for me, I want to watch, you know, kind of shows that at least make an effort to have representation beyond the lame, you know, token or, you know, villain, you know, or deformed, you know, like just something that, and not to say they don't deserve, anybody doesn't deserve representation as well. I'm just saying, for me, I need to see the full color spectrum, you know, on the shows that I watch. That's what I prefer, is for there to be, you know, mixed in. I need the full bag. So anyway, but the show itself, like the storyline, I think is pretty good. If you have a show you want to recommend to me, please do. I hope it's going well for you this week, and Nam yo harenge kyo.